Are you ready for our next speakers? Yes. All right. So I have great pleasure in introducing to you Dr. Claire Dale, recently doctorized, and Nasreen Sheikh, both of who have attended Aspire events before and have spoken at Aspire events before back in 2016 in Chicago. Nasreen flew over from Nepal, and I think virtually in 2020, wasn't it, Claire, during those all virtual times. So Claire is a neurophysiology specialist. Her award-winning book, Physical Intelligence, has won a Business Book of the Year award. And she has launched and runs something called the Physical Intelligence Institute, which facilitates new neurochemistry-based embodiment practices. So, she will tell you more about what that means and very latest, greatest stuff for us. Am I doing something on the mic here? I'm all right, okay, good. Nasreen, who is also featured in my book, Rebellious, Women Who Broke the Rules and Changed Their World, is a survivor of modern slavery and a visionary leader committed to ending this issue. So she's based out of Nepal and has just, we don't even have enough time. You could be here for a week talking about Nasreen's amazing journey. But she is dedicated to ending modern slavery through survivor leadership, and she founded a local women's handicrafts social business venture in Nepal. She's a documentary filmmaker, author, and multimedia artist. Just remember, she was on the streets in Nepal as a kid, and now she's doing this. So just want to give you that sort of context of the journey. If you think about how many millions and millions of young people that there are homeless around the world on the streets, she's the one that is here. So that's an achieving the impossible story. There are so many amazing things I can say about the two of them. They're going to talk to you today about their collaboration story. So a round of applause for Claire and Nasreen. Moment for quite some time, collaborating since 2019, as Sam says. I'm happy to be here. I'm Claire Dale. I hadn't remembered that my bio was so kind of chemically sciencey, but basically I used to be a dancer, and I became a business consultant, bringing the body into business. And for the last 25 years, I've been delivering professional training and coaching programs in organisations like JP Morgan, Shell, trying to change some of those big issues in these organisations, working through the body. When I was a kid, I was growing up very close in age to my sister Gillian, who was severely disabled, and yet I was a dancer, always a dancer. And the personal impetus to create the Physical Intelligence Institute came because I realised as a young adult that even though I'd been dancing, I actually had guilt for having a body that was moving well. Can you get that? That was what was going on in my body. So I was torn when I was dancing. And when I realised that, it made me want to do work after I finished my contemporary dance career to elevate the body. This amazing intelligence, Sam called it technology, I call it a technology too yesterday. This is incredible, and yet we sort of just hope it carries us around and doesn't let us down in public, you know? So I believe the body is a hugely intelligent
technology, and I wanted to celebrate it today. And it's part of the story of how Nasreen and I connected.
Absolutely, it is such a pleasure to be with you all, and namaste from Nepal. And Sam, you are just such an incredible leader, because you see the potential on the street, you see the potential in underserved communities, coming from undocumented, completely male-dominated society, where as a child I witnessed a lot of atrocities that was happening against women and girls. It was happening to my mother, it was happening to my sister, and I knew that I would be next. And for most likely, the girls like me who wants to do something, the next phase is another form of slavery. And for me, I tried to escape forced marriage, but I ended up in a sweatshop as a child labor, making same clothes that you all might be supporting unknowingly. Like, how many of you even know here who makes your clothes, who makes your coffee? And in the outskirts of Kathmandu, in a very small room, I was working for many, many hours. I don't even know how old I am. My birth was never documented because we come from an undocumented village. And today, with the help of kind people who believes in change, that is why I'm here today. And now I run a non-profit organization called Empowerment Collective that is dedicated to end modern slavery, because today still 50 million people living in modern slavery. 28 million of them are in forced labor. We think of UK and we think like, okay, you know, we need to send a lot of aid, but today still UK imports $16.1 billion of products that contain slavery. So today, me and Claire are going to collaborate on how we're going to change these issues, because this is very systematic issues that especially keeps women and girls in the most underserved communities and does not give them the power to change. And that's what we're going to talk about, that how we did this and how we're changing the girls' life in these villages.
So we created an allyship between the Physical Intelligence Institute Foundation, which we started at the same time as starting the Institute, because we believed, me and my team believed, that we wanted this work to always be connected with purpose. But I actually wasn't doing very much with that until I met Nasreen. I knew from working with Sam and being at an Aspire conference that my goal was to find a way of connecting into some global mission that felt like it was bigger than my life. And it wasn't until we spoke together and I met Nasreen that I knew that this was the key collaboration that was going to enable me to fulfill that dream of mine.
Exactly. Yeah, one of the things that I feel like I really want to choose the language wisely, because there's a lot of languages that does not represent, especially people with lived experience that earlier Lily spoke about, that sometimes the language means a lot to us. So instead of calling partnership, we are calling ally, because we need not the control, we need the breathing, where we can allow these different leadership that exist in these communities that can actually solve these problems that is happening on the ground. And so the allyship is really about listening, giving time, hearing from each other, and finding ways, you know, like when we were connecting, we had no idea that we would become ally, you know, not just help me, but have the vision to help others. And so Empowerment Collective, the survivor leadership, is that what we're going to talk about, and how that is going to come forward in the future to really end some of these issues that is happening on the ground. Yeah.
So what did we actually do? Well, somebody emailed somebody, I cannot remember which way around, probably me, because I just fell in love, you know, unashamedly fell in love with you and your story, and how you bring what I would call this incredible oxytocin effect. Many of you already know about that chemistry. This oxytocin effect is about how we connect with each other. It's incredibly powerful chemical. Women have more of it than men, although men have plenty too. But we need more of this to do this very connected circular work. So we ended up meeting every couple of weeks and spending at least 2-3 hours, and maybe going away and doing some stuff, and just showing up to do whatever work needed to be done. And sometimes we were writing fundraising applications. It's not my forte, but it was work that needed to be done. So we did that. But then there was this other part of it that was bringing in movement and physical intelligence, and this embodiment piece that Nasreen will talk about what that gave her, but that's become an important part of my life, which is coaching with physical intelligence. So unless we work with the body, leaders who could impact change powerfully externally might end up stuck with the chemistry going round and round in circles, the same chemistry over and over again, and not being able to find that purpose, that power, that voice, that strength. And that's what we ended up doing as a piece of mentoring, coaching, leadership sharing. And Nasreen gave me a lot as well. But that was the one thing I was bringing to the table was the physical intelligence.
No, I would say you brought so many things, and one of them is definitely a love, like a pure connections of just being in service, just wanting to be heard, just to hear somebody, to listen. Listening is a power, and that's what Claire did in many different levels. And I still remember for hours and hours I would just talk, because you know it's one thing that you come into the stage and you say, like, I'm a survivor, I escaped this and this, and now I run a non-profit organization and I help all this. Behind the scene, it goes a lot more than that. You know, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of reconciliation that needs to happen, a lot of pain for trauma, like feeling very systematically removed from the system and feeling less than, and you need that support. You know, we all need each other. And you know, one of the things that I really admire about Aspire is really around mentorship and how working with one another can really help you come up with like projects such as Phoenix Project or so many other projects. And for us, it was that allyship program around physical intelligence and then survival leadership. I still remember that, you know, as we would just talk about those things, and it would make me just cry, and I would just say to Claire, I cannot talk anymore. And for months, I would just disappear because I was doing all the things that she would give me an hour to talk through. That 1 hour call, I had to take a time to process for 1 month. And then after all of that work, I would come back and say, like, okay, I'm ready for the next step. And so it was a commitment, follow through, respect, honoring, all of that played a role. Some of the physical intelligence activities also helped, because sometimes I would just feel stuck, you know, just stuck. And it's not being stuck in the future or the present, I was stuck in the past, because my past feels so lonely. It feels very, everything I'm doing, it's not connecting to my root, because my root is so far removed by the system. And so I had to somehow find a way to feel whole inside me in order to give more and to be succeed. And that's what for almost 2 years that we worked together, you helped me connect to bits and pieces together so I can be more fully me.
So you might be wondering what we actually did, what some of this physical movement was about. And physical intelligence is about movement, breath, visualization, anything that you can do with your body to support emotional and cognitive life. And we talked a lot about strength and where it comes from, and not having to sort of fight, but finding deep inner strength, which is one of the things that the physical intelligence curriculum does. So we just chose one thing of many things that we did that I think you practiced for a while, and we can practice here together. By the way, if you could just collapse for a moment and then try and have a confident, strong thought, say, I feel strong and confident. We do that in a collapsed and weakened state. Just try saying it out loud. I feel strong and confident. Can you? Not so much, right? So let's take that to the other direction. So one thing that we did, and we were virtual, so Nasreen used a wall, was to use this resistance that you can create through your body. And you can do it seated though now, if you put the heels of your hands together and you press them together and you feel your strength, the physical strength. And you might drop your shoulders down in your back, and you might imagine the adrenal glands, these little caps on top of the kidneys, giving you a bit of a boost, some testosterone actually, ladies and gentlemen. Some adrenaline, some more of the deep adrenal steroids, DHEA. Keep the pressure on for just a little bit, and then take it off and just see what's changing as you feel the step of your shoulders, as you feel yourself in the world. And you might like to try with a neighbour. You might like to just dive in as a Santa and just see, what happens when you just give each other, notice what changes when you activate your body. That's all I want you to do. Just notice what changes as you activate your body. You're telling your adrenal glands, we are going to need some energy, some force from inside. Not struggle and fight, but force from inside. And you can get that starting with your body.
And that's exactly it, because even though I felt like coming from the street, coming from all those communities, and making change, and there's a threshold where you're either going to collapse or you're going to continue and burn out. And that was the point that was coming in my life, and I felt like I needed some help on the physical level, because I want to grow more. I want to do some more things, and that activity and those support really helped me to see my organization from much more higher level. And today, Empowerment Collective is one of the world's first organization that runs under 100% survivor leadership. And because of that, I got a call from Theresa May, UK Prime Minister, calling and saying like, we want you to be one of the commissioners of our global commission to end modern slavery. I have never ever thought in my life that girls like you can get and all these commissioners, there's people like the Unilever CEOs, the high level of UN, and UK prime ministers, and all of these like 17 members of world leaders are coming together to make sure that our narratives mix and close that gap that we all are feeling. So we have so much more to do, and I feel like I'm going to keep coming to Aspire and keep sharing the next stage of our experience. Yes.
So this collaboration created some transformational points for us both. Shall we briefly cover those? Oh no, we're going to methodology now, aren't we? So this is really quick, but we thought we'd just give you 3 points. This is exactly what we did. So Sam could get up the slide. Yeah, I know, we have only 5 minutes, so this is really, really quick. So we think that's really important is to love, to follow the heart, which is what we both did. And it was something about the time. It was always diarising the next meeting, never leaving that to chance or busy calendars, as we were talking about earlier. Do you want to just talk about the action?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, action is all about like what you do with it. Once you have the time, once you have already love exist, it really depends on you. And so the action that we took is that Claire started to mentor not just me, but one of our girls that we have adopted since she was 4-year-old, and have come through and become she's want to be young leader. It reminds me of one of the girls that I met here, actually you, Gracie, that like her energy was like that, and she wanted to do some more of the work. And when you started to mentor her, she started to get confidence. Today she's about 18-year-old, and she runs our shop in Kathmandu, Nepal, talking with global customers around the world. And not only that, through all of this mentorship and support, she's learning how to ride a motorbike in a male-dominated society where everybody is saying like, that's dangerous, don't do it. And she's like, no, I'm not alone, I have people behind me and I'm going to do it. So that's like impact. And her name is Chandani, and she's a beautiful, beautiful soul. and seeing that the girls can thrive, you know, because little bit of support that we give, the time that we give, the calendar that we create, it has a ripple effect. What you do with your time, like we could be thinking about things like, oh, things are not like horrible things, or we could use that time and make an impact.
So just some closing remarks then about where we're going with this. From the physical intelligence methodology perspective, we're developing a methodology for coaching survivor-led organisations and leaders, and that's very, very exciting. So if you're a coach and you want to train in physical intelligence, you can come to a 3-month online programme with us. And we've put resources there, so there's QR codes to take you to the various places. There's also Body Smart is a digital program that we're translating into Hindu now, so that where there is the technology, these girls and young women can get to learn about their bodies and learn about their inner chemistry and how they can get that kind of strength. And the commitment is that action is everything. Our commitment to action feels like what kept us going and what created the results.
Exactly. I still remember that one of the methodology that we developed under the Survivor Leadership, because this is a leadership conference, and by the way, our empowerment collective is 100% women survivor leaders. And some of the key points that we are bringing is that how do we get rid of hierarchy? How do we, how do we make a system change that in a way that we put the problem in a center. So it's based on the circular leadership. You should look a little bit more into it. It's more about hearing everybody out and figuring out what the solution is. Also, one of the second methodology that we use is person-to-person approach, which is really around that. For example, in Nepal gets hit by earthquake quite often, and if one community is destroyed, the other one, how can they help one another? And knowing and building relationship is really around the person-to-person relationship. Also, we believe that the person who experienced these kinds of trauma and pain, those are the ones that have a solution how to fix this problem, because they saw it, they witnessed it, they know each other, and how can from the far we can support them and become an ally, not the savior, but ally in a way to hold a space and tell them that you do have power to make an impact. So those are the new concept. It's a very revolutionary new concept that is coming, and you could look into of all this work we are doing with the Global Commission. We recently launched a report in UN called "No Country is Immune," means slavery exists everywhere, all around us, including in UK, but it has many different forms.
So a little challenge from us, which is to find at least 3 moments today where you can strengthen yourself by using this movement. I've got lots of stories of young football teams winning when they were losing, and all kinds of stories about people just using the simplicity of finding your strength. Nasreen used a wall, so there are walls here as well, but I'd love to see that happening 3 times throughout the rest of the day, when you're starting to doubt a little bit.
Thank you.
I will add to that challenge, because that's how I